Look at the device in your hand right now, or the electric vehicle that the world tells you is the future of green energy. They are sleek, efficient, and represent the pinnacle of human innovation. We look at these objects and we see progress. We see a civilized world where technology serves humanity. But there is a secret that the global economy works very hard to keep hidden from you. A secret that isn't found in quarterly earnings reports or stock market tickers. The comfort of your modern life is being subsidized. But it isn't being subsidized by government tax breaks or venture capital. It is being subsidized by blood, by stolen freedom, and by the invisible labor of millions of people you will never meet. We tell ourselves that slavery ended in the 19th century. We believe that when the laws changed, the chains were broken. We are wrong. Slavery never ended. It simply evolved. It modernized. It was rebranded, outsourced, and hidden deep within the complex layers of the global supply chain. According to the International Labor Organization, right now, as you watch this video, approximately 50 million people are living in modern slavery. That is more than the entire population of Spain. It is 4 times the number of people trafficked during the entire 400-year history of the transatlantic slave trade. The world has not eradicated slavery, it has simply industrialized it. Welcome to the dark side of the global economy. This is the story of the invisible chains that bind us all. To understand why this is happening today, in an era of supposed human rights and corporate responsibility, we have to look at the economic engine driving our world. It is called the race to the bottom. In a hyper-globalized economy, corporations face immense pressure to maximize profits. Consumers in New York, London, and Tokyo demand cheaper goods. We want our t-shirts for $5. We want our shrimp for cheap, and we want a new phone every year without bankrupting ourselves. But the math doesn't add up. Materials cost money. Logistics cost money. The only variable that can be squeezed indefinitely is the cost of human labor. So the manufacturing moves. It shifts from developed nations to developing ones, and then to the poorest regions on Earth, where labor laws are merely suggestions and poverty is a weapon. In these shadows, the modern slaveholder does not use iron shackles. Iron is too visible. It's too old-fashioned. Today, the chains are made of debt and paper. It works like this. A recruiter approaches a desperate worker in a rural village. They promise a high-paying job in a factory or on a farm in a richer neighboring country. But there's a catch, a recruitment fee. The worker borrows money, often at predatory interest rates, to pay for the chance to work. The moment they arrive, their passport is confiscated. They are told they must work to pay off the debt, but the debt is rigged. They are charged for food, for lodging, for tools. The interest compounds. They are working not for wages, but for survival, trapped in a cycle of debt bondage that can last for years, or even generations. They cannot run because they have no documents. They cannot call the police because they are illegal migrants. They are the perfect, disposable fuel for the global economic engine. Let's peel back the layers of the products you use every day. Let's start with the battery in your pocket. Cobalt. It is the blue gold of the digital age. Without it, lithium-ion batteries do not work. Your phone, your laptop, that new electric car, they all rely on it. And 70% of the world's cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Here, in the artisanal mines, a polite term for unregulated pits of despair, tens of thousands of people, including children as young as 6, claw at the earth with their bare hands. They descend into unstable tunnels with no supports, breathing in toxic dust that destroys their lungs. They aren't employed by the tech giants directly. They sell their bags of ore to middlemen, who sell to processors, who sell to battery makers. By the time that cobalt reaches a clean, sterile factory in Asia or America, its origin has been laundered. But the reality remains. The green energy revolution is being built on the backs of children digging in the red dirt, paid $1 a day to power a $100,000 car. Now, let's move from the earth to the sea. The seafood industry is a massive part of the global food supply, particularly coming out of Southeast Asia. But out here in international waters, there are no cameras and no witnesses. This is the world of the ghost ships. To keep the price of seafood low, fishing fleets in places like Thailand have turned to trafficked labor. Migrant workers from Cambodia or Myanmar are tricked onto boats, thinking they are signing up for a few months of work. Instead, they are taken out to sea and sometimes kept there for years. These ships operate using transshipment. A large mothership anchors offshore, collecting the catch and resupplying the smaller fishing boats with fuel and food. This means the smaller boats, and the men on them, never have to return to land. Escaped survivors tell stories of 20-hour workdays, beatings, and executions. If a worker gets sick or tries to mutiny, they are thrown overboard. The ocean swallows the evidence. When you buy a bag of frozen shrimp at your local supermarket, there's no way to know if it was caught by a free man or a prisoner of the sea. And finally, something sweet. The chocolate industry. Western Africa, specifically Ivory Coast and Ghana, produces the vast majority of the world's cocoa. Despite decades of pledges by the world's largest chocolate companies to eradicate child labor, the practice is thriving. The logic is brutal. The global price of cocoa fluctuates, but the farmers are always squeezed. To survive, they cannot afford adult wages. So they turn to children. Some are their own, others are trafficked from poorer neighboring countries like Burkina Faso. These children wield heavy machetes to harvest the pods. They carry sacks that weigh more than they do. They apply dangerous pesticides without protective gear. Most of these children have never attended a day of school. And the cruelest irony of all, most of them have never tasted chocolate. They harvest the ingredients for a luxury they will never experience, solely so we can enjoy a sweet treat for $1.50. You might be asking, how? How do multi-billion-dollar corporations with unlimited resources allow this to happen? Do they not know? The answer is found in the structure of this supply chain maze. The global economy is designed for plausible deniability. Imagine a pyramid. At the top, you have the big brand. They have strict codes of conduct, slick PR teams, and auditors. They sign a contract with a Tier 1 supplier, a large, legitimate factory. The brand pays the supplier a price that is barely enough to cover costs. To make a profit, the Tier 1 supplier subcontracts part of the order to a smaller factory. That smaller factory, under the same pressure, subcontracts again to a shadow workshop or an unregulated farm. By the time you get to the bottom of the pyramid, where the cobalt is dug or the cotton is picked, the link to the big brand is broken. If a journalist exposes slavery in the supply chain, the big brand can throw up their hands and say, "We didn't know. That wasn't our factory. It was an unauthorized subcontractor." They cut ties, issue an apology, and the cycle begins again somewhere else. The system privatizes the profits at the top and socializes the risk and suffering at the bottom. And here's the terrifying part. This is not a fading problem. It is accelerating. The economic conditions of the 2020s are creating a perfect storm for modern slavery to explode. We are living through a period of historic inflation and economic instability. When the cost of living soars in the West, consumers become even more price sensitive. We hunt for bargains. We demand cheaper goods. This sends a shockwave down the supply chain, squeezing producers even harder. When the margin for profit disappears, the only way to keep the factory running is to stop paying for labor altogether. Simultaneously, we are witnessing the greatest migration crisis since World War II. War, political instability, and climate change are displacing millions of people. A refugee without a home, without money, and without a voice is the ultimate target for traffickers. They are desperate. They will take any risk to feed their families. The global economy is currently flooded with vulnerable people, and the predatory industries are waiting with open arms. As we look toward 2025 and beyond, as supply chains fracture and geopolitical tensions rise, the temptation to use forced labor will not decrease. It will increase. We are not moving toward a world of automated luxury. We are moving toward a bifurcated world, a world divided between those who consume comfort and those who are consumed by it. If we do not confront this, the consequences will be more than just moral. They will be systemic. A global economy built on the backs of slaves is a house of cards. It creates a false prosperity. It suppresses innovation because cheap slave labor is always cheaper than investing in new technology. It destabilizes entire regions, funding warlords and criminal syndicates. But the deepest consequence is what it does to us. Every time we swipe our credit card for a bargain that seems too good to be true, we are participating in a transaction that trades human dignity for a discount. We become silent shareholders in an enterprise of suffering. The market listens to money. If our money demands cheapness at any cost, the market will provide it, and the currency it uses will be human life. So, where do we go from here? I'm not asking you to throw away your phone or stop eating. That is impossible. The world is too interconnected to simply opt out. But the most powerful tool you possess is not your money. It is your awareness. The invisible chains only hold strong because they are hidden in the dark. The moment we shine a light on them, they begin to rust. We must understand that cheap is an illusion. Someone, somewhere, is always paying the difference. When you understand the true cost of the things you own, you start to ask different questions. You start to demand transparency. You start to hold the brands you love accountable. Slavery didn't end. It just needs us to look away for it to survive. Don't look away.